Now there are several events in Game of Thrones Season 8 that we still have to deal with in these remaining 3 episodes, and most of these plot points can all fall under one banner or one heraldry: the final war. In this video, I want to discuss several different things and events that may take place in the final 3 episodes, as well as speculate on a few moments that may unfold at the very end of a Game of Thrones. Now, this video may contain spoilers, so as always, here's your sign and let's begin. Now before we get started, please slap a like on this video, as the like goal is going to be 4,420. Also, make sure you're subscribed, and then that's the most important part. Make sure you have your notifications turned on so that way you get alerted every single time I drop a video. Long night. Also, we have a subscriber goal on this channel of trying to reach 100,000 strong before the end of the series. Please subscribe and help us reach that goal. Now the first event, or plot point rather, that I want to discuss for this video is something that's also related to another point that I'll make in a little bit, and that's of Jon Snow's lineage. Daenerys, Samwell, and Bran are the only key characters that know of the true origins of Jon Snow, and that he's technically next in line for the Iron Throne. But you know one person who hasn't figured that out? One person who, if they do find out, this information will become extremely deadly, and that person is Cersei Lannister. Qyburn supposedly has control of Varys' little birds, and I'm pretty sure this little girl who didn't end up dying in the actual invasion for Winterfell might have been one of his spies. We haven't really seen her at all this season aside from the very first episode. In this 2-episode break that she's been given off, you best believe that she has been plotting up a storm. I guarantee you that the next episode will start with her camp. We'll probably spend about 10 to 15 minutes down there, and in those few scenes in episode 4, we're likely going to discover what all she knows about what happened at the battle for Winterfell, and maybe even about Jon Snow's true lineage. Now the main reason why I said this information, if Cersei finds out about it anyway, could become deadly, is because we've had a very similar situation like this happen before with Robert Baratheon and Cersei's children. Ned Stark attempted to spread that information around the kingdom and he lost his head. Now that if Cersei finds out this information, she will likely freely be able to spread it around the kingdom, and this is what I think will cause turmoil and complicate things in Jon Snow and Daenerys' camp. I mean, just think about it. Most of the Dothraki are dead, and the Unsullied have been dwindled down to a number that is nowhere near as large as it was before the Battle of Winterfell. Most of the people who are survivors at Winterfell likely support Jon Snow in being the king of the North. If Cersei were to spread this information among the commoners in Winterfell, then there could likely be some sort of coup or uprising against Daenerys. But here's one thing that sort of negates that whole thing. It's actually a clip from the episode 4 preview trailer. This appears to be Daenerys giving some sort of speech, and who's in the background, which appears to be a lot of northern folks, are rallying behind her and cheering at whatever she says. Now, you know, I sort of just need to take that back. I don't think Jon Snow and Daenerys need to worry about a coup from the northern commoners. I think more so from closer to their camp. If someone like Sansa or Tyrion were to find out this information, I doubt they would be able to keep that information calmly. I mean, I've speculated on it before in the past that maybe Tyrion is the one who tells Cersei of Jon Snow's lineage, and this is what ultimately causes that betrayal. Or if Sansa were to find out, this would lead her to start plotting against Jon Snow and Daenerys. Now, just sort of bringing it back around to Cersei, if Cersei does find out this information, whether it's from Varys or Qyburn's little birds or from Tyrion himself, she will likely realize that since Jon Snow was able to successfully defeat the Night King, he does have a claim on the North. If the kingdoms were to find out that he's the true heir to the Iron Throne, then her position as CIC, or cunt in charge, could likely be jeopardized. If the Golden Company stay loyal, then Cersei would likely be able to defeat Daenerys as long as she can take out the dragons. She does realize that Jon Snow and the Starks up north are always going to be an issue to her until she somehow unites their houses or wipes them off the map, but I don't think that House Stark is going to make that very easy. So this is why I propose an idea to you that I've mentioned before in several of my videos. What if that initial meeting between Jon Snow and Cersei that we were given leaked images of, what if this actually turns out to be a wedding proposal of sorts? What if Cersei's offering Jon Snow, hey, bend the knee, I'll allow you and the Starks to survive under one condition, that being that you take my hand in marriage. The only way our houses will ever stop warring, the only way we could truly unite the 7 kingdoms is through marriage. And you're probably like, well, wait a second, what about Euron? Well, he's likely going to be dealt with in the next few episodes. I can't see him being playing any sort of role past maybe episode 5. Pretty sure Cersei only gave him some ass just to keep him happy and quiet for a few days until she can figure out what to do with him. And as far as Jon Snow's potential mate in Daenerys, my queen, well, a lot of people tend to think that she could possibly go out by the end of this series. That's why Jon Snow is connected with her dragons, so that way if something does happen with Daenerys, Jon Snow will still be able to ride them into battle. Go ahead and put on your tinfoil cats for this next one. Now, if Euron and Daenerys are somehow dealt with by the end of this series, it is entirely possible that Jon Snow decides to not necessarily bend the knee to Cersei, but have some sort of pact and union between the two of their houses. Now, I know that sounds super crazy, but we have to remember, one of the biggest historical events in England that this show is based on, the War of the Roses, one of the bloodiest wars that lasted several centuries, only came to its bloody end between a union of House Lancaster and House York, or House Lannister and House Stark. And you know what? Now that I've actually said that out loud, that sounds extremely stupid. There's no way this series ends with the dragon wolf mating with the lion. There's no way that happens. But you all let me know what you think about that down below in the comment section. Now, the next thing that I want to discuss that has to take place before the final war actually starts is a little bit of recouping of their losses. Daenerys needs to get a bigger army, and I feel like there's really only 2 options that can happen. Okay, maybe a third, but it requires an insane amount of tinfoil. The first one, and this one is I think the most likely, is that we get a Greyjoy army from Yara. Now that Theon is gone, I'm pretty sure she's going to be coming back into play, and the only reason why she wasn't a part of the second and third episode is likely because Gemma Whelan, the actress who plays Yara, was actually pregnant during part of the filming season, so they had to give her some time off. But the fact that Theon dies, in my opinion, will likely rally the Greyjoys to come and stand by Daenerys' aid. There's no longer a threat of the dead, and Yara said she went back to the Iron Islands just in case the dead overcame the North. Daenerys will have somewhere to run to. Well, now that that's no longer a threat, she needs to get back in the game and will likely meet up with Daenerys as she sets to sail towards King's Landing by the end of episode 4. Now, you're probably wondering, like, oh, she might set out before then. The main reason why I say this is because Emilia Clarke did an interview with Jimmy Kimmel recently where she said that episode 5 was going to be bigger than episode 3. Now, traditionally, the second to last episode of Game of Thrones always has the most death. This is where we lost Ned Stark, and this is also where the Red Wedding happened. And just as a little side note, one thing I noticed from the episode 4 trailer is all these shots of Cersei seem pretty, sunny. And there's one thing that I brought up in my last video, which was, is the Night King truly gone? The last time we saw King's Landing, for the most part at the beginning of the season, and then at the end of season 7, there was snow falling, which means that winter had finally came. But if you'll notice in these new shots, it's bright and sunny, almost as if it always is down in King's Landing. So does that mean that this sort of confirms the Night King is officially dealt with? At least the weather that follows him is. I mean, I doubt the magic that the Night King possessed is really truly gone. Even if we don't see another Night King by the end of the series, the fact that Bran is still alive and can likely use his warg powers means that the magic that created the Night King still exists in this world, and there's always a chance for him to come back, even if we don't see him in this iteration of Game of Thrones. The other 2 options for Daenerys getting a larger army, aside from Yara showing back up with a few more Greyjoy troops, that would be the army from Dorne that we literally never saw at the beginning of season 7. They were supposed to attack King's Landing with Yara, but after they were destroyed on the ocean by Euron, we never really heard much more from Dorne. So there's a big theory that there's some army that will be coming down there. As we have to remember, Valeria Sand pledged her loyalty to Daenerys, so whoever stayed down in Dorne still technically would likely be loyal to Ilaria, so they would have to uphold her word. The Dornish army was likely put on the back burner just so that they could be brought up later on and actually serve a purpose in this final war. Now, the other place Daenerys could expand her army is actually sort of a bonus 1 for 2 or 2 for, I don't even know how to say it, but it's 2 different places. One could actually be the Golden Company, which is something that I sort of mentioned earlier in this video. It would be the Golden Company turning tail and joining Daenerys. We do know they were founded by a bastard member of House Targaryen, or a bastard branch of House Targaryen rather, House Blackfyre. The Golden Company was founded by then, so maybe they could somehow find their Targaryen roots and become loyal to Daenerys. I thought it was a bit more feasible for that to happen if they showed up right before the battle for Winterfell, but the Golden Company still could be taking a trip up north, and I actually mentioned this in my last video, that could be to kidnap Sansa in order to get Jon Snow to bend the knee. But if the Golden Company actually do stay loyal to Cersei and don't turn tail and run, then the only other option for Daenerys to expand her army, in my opinion, is from Essos. Maybe we'll get to see Daario come over with the Second Sons and rally behind Daenerys one last time. Now, the actor who plays him, Michael Uzman, has been confirmed to not take part in this final season, but they said that same thing about Gemma Whalen, the actress who plays Yara, and we literally just saw her in episode 1. But all that aside, regardless of how Daenerys actually expands her army, it needs to happen, because the fact that the dragons are still somewhat wounded and she's launching into battle somewhat half-cocked, she's putting a big risk on her life. Now, I could just be misreading this whole situation, and like I speculated previously, there is actually a time jump in episode 4, which would give her dragons time to heal, give them time to somewhat rebuild Winterfell, which we could sort of see in that preview trailer, and also rebuild her army. Now, the next thing that I want to discuss that has to be dealt with in, a major event of these last few episodes, that is the Bronn, Jaime, and Tyrion situation. We do know that Jaime betrayed Cersei, left her last season, and has successfully fought for the North and has survived. The same with Tyrion. So that means Bronn will have to likely kill one of them if he plans on keeping all that gold that was given to him by Cersei. Now, what actually complicates this whole situation is the fact that Bronn was brought in as a sellsword. So if he's going to stay true to his nature, he was paid to kill someone and he needs to do it. My whole thing is he's far more likely to take out or attempt to take out Daenerys as opposed to one of his best friends. We do know that he's bonded with Jaime. He's risked his life to save Jaime's life before, and the same with Tyrion. Bronn has a history of attempting to kill dragons, and what I was hoping would bring him around to her side this season was him showing up with Jaime for the battle for Winterfell. I was hoping they would bond over the fact of near death, but now that Bronn has missed out on that entirely and the dead are officially dealt with, Bronn is going to realize that Cersei is in the highest position of power. She still retains the Iron Throne, and now there's no longer a threat of the dead, which most likely means she'll be able to hold on to it. This would push Bronn into the direction of defying the Dragon Queen and doing exactly what Cersei tells him to. We have to realize the fact that he immediately hinted that he wouldn't be trying to kill the Dragon Queen with that crossbow, the same one that Tyrion used to kill Tywin with, is like a giant foreshadow. I feel like he will attempt to kill Daenerys, and he may even do it with that same crossbow. Now, you're probably thinking there's no way Daenerys will die at the end of this story, and I feel like that too. But we have to remember that the way the Night King was killed, some people think was a bit uneventful. This show has trained the audience to be bloodthirsty, and, reading the comments on my last video, speaking of which, this video has over 1 million views, which is insane for my channel. Thank you all so much for making that dream come true, but just reading those comments, a lot of the show watchers are disappointed that there wasn't as much death. They actually think that this is what made the episode crappier, and I have to remind you all to be careful what you wish for. This show is always ahead of the curve, and the fact that the Night King was dealt with the way he was, there just means that there's more death coming for the main characters. A lot of people were like, whoa, there should have been several characters killed by the Night King. Well, we all expect Death, who, is basically the Night King, to kill whoever he comes across. So having him kill a few main characters is actually expected. That's something that was a given. We knew that was going to happen, and it didn't happen, and this is why some people were disappointed. But when a character is killed by another human character, the impact of that is felt so much more greatly. I mean, just having Cersei stab Daenerys in the stomach, or having the Night King stab Daenerys in the stomach, Cersei doing it would be so much worse, just for an example. I mean, stuff like that is, after all, what made this show famous. Now, I just want to mention one more possible event before I get out of here, because we're getting pretty short for time on this video. That is the possibility that the Night King will return in one way or another. Now, I mentioned before that they appear to be burning the bodies of the dead at the start of episode 4, so this could mean there's still a looming threat from the dead coming in, since obviously they don't want the dead to arise. But some people actually pointed out, and I guess this could be true, that they're trying to stop the spread of disease. We do know that the knowledge that is around in Game of Thrones is way further advanced than the knowledge that was around during the actual medieval times, so they could have an awareness of disease being spread. But with the Northerners being superstitious, I feel like the main reason why the bodies are being burned is because there's still a looming threat of the Night King. Bran is of the same magic that created the Night King, so as long as he exists in this world, there's always a chance that eventually the Night King can come back. And I'm starting to repeat myself, so with that being said, I want to thank you all so much for watching. If you could please slap a like on this video. The like goal is going to be 4,420. Also, we have that subscriber goal of trying to reach 100,000 strong before the end of this amazing television series. Please subscribe and turn the notifications on so that way you can help me reach that goal and you'll be alerted every single time I drop a video. Long night. Super special shout out to every single person watching this video, and a super special thank you to every single member of my Patreon family over on patreon.com/SirHuntsReviews. I want to thank you all again so much for watching. My name's Mark, and this has been Sir Hunts Reviews.